Hello, welcome to Kim and Friends, where we laugh through the chaos, cry whenever the hell we feel like it, and always keep it real. Because as women, the conversations we have and the stories we share behind closed doors need to be heard out in the wild. I'm Kim, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen today. I really hope something resonates with you. Hi. Welcome back to Kim and Friends. I'm in the studio today with my good friend Susie. I'm so excited for you to all get to know her. Susie is a mama to Brayden. She's a partner to Paul. She has her bachelor's in marketing and a minor in psychology. But we will mostly be talking today about her being an integrative nutrition health coach. You'll often hear it referred to as a holistic health coach, and she's working towards her board certification. She specializes in hormone and metabolic health. And what she really likes to do is help her clients get to the root of what's causing their symptoms and offer natural solutions through nutrition and lifestyle. But as you all know, for the purposes of today's episode, Susie's most important credential is that she is someone that I have the fortunate privilege to call my friend. Hello, my beautiful friend, Susie.
Hi, Kim. I'm so happy to be.
I am too. And I want to, just tell you thank you for taking the time to do this today. I'm going to be completely honest. I've been out of the studio for a couple of months, so I'm feeling a little rusty. I'm feeling a little nervous, but I'm also really excited because I know I'm in good hands with you. Thank you so much, and you're always such a kind, sweet friend, and we're going to get through it together.
Awesome. Well, this is my first episode ever being on a podcast, so we can be nervous together.
So it was a little funny when I first asked you. It was like early on when I was first starting. And just in my mind, I was like, Susie will be one of my first guests. And I was like, Susie, I'd love to have you on the podcast. And you were like, not yet. And I was like, okay, heard. Totally fine. I get it. But it was just so funny because I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I had a lot going on at the time. So
No, of course. Yeah. But I'm just like, this is long anticipated. Just let everybody know sort of the flow of what we're going to talk about today. As I have with my other guests in the previous episodes, I just want to get into a little bit of sort of how we became friends, the, timeline of that, how we got into each other's lives and what we mean to each other. And then discuss sort of the happenings throughout your life that led you down this path of becoming a holistic health coach or integrative nutrition health coach. And I'm excited for you to sort of demystify that for people, because I think people hear that and they're like, what? I don't really know what that means. So yeah, that's sort of what we're going to be doing today. So we'll start with our friendship. So Susie was my husband's friend. My husband came with a beautiful array of lovely women friends, and Susie was one of them. So tell me a little bit about you and Daniel. When did y'all first meet and when did y'all become friends?
Geez. I want to say it's been over 25 years. That is so wild to think. That makes me feel old.
We're only like 22, so that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it was we started our friendship, I think, like in 7th or 8th grade.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a long time. We've been friends for a long time. And then we've been friends for 14 years now?
Well, yeah, Daniel and I got together in 2010, end of 2010, and we, met pretty quickly after that. So I've been friends with you as long as I've been with Daniel. I like to say I stole his friends from him, although you and Daniel are still very good friends, but
yeah,
I stole
yeah
from him.
But I think it's a little ironic that we became even closer after I moved away.
Correct. So what year was that? Susie lived in St. Louis, was local when we first met, and then she moved to North Carolina.
Man, I'm so bad with dates, but I want to
That's okay.
say it's been like, I think it was around 14 years that
Okay.
I've
So
there.
we
So
that wow, I thought we were in St. Louis together longer than that. But you moved away, you started living a whole new life in and around the Charlotte area. And then every time you came back in town, we would all go hang out at your mom's and swim at the pool. And we always had such a good time together. And I remember talking to you about like wanting to write a book, and you were like so uber supportive and so kind. And then we started staying in closer touch, and just like we had like weekly phone calls that we would do. I don't know. I don't know the timeline either. But
well, I feel like a lot of it had to do with what was going on in my life when we lost our baby girl Angelina at 19 weeks gestation. So that was a really, obviously, the most difficult time of my life. And yeah, I feel like that's when we really started to get close.
well, I appreciate you bringing that up because I knew we wanted to touch on that today. But I just want to be sensitive, of course, to
Yeah.
what you went through. So yeah, we would talk. I don't know if it started with I don't know how it started, but I know that I knew that you were pregnant and that you were having some testing done and that maybe there were some concerns about the baby. And I just had a knowing in me. Like I was like, I'm maybe gonna overstep. I don't care. I'm gonna just insert myself into Susie's life, and I want to be there for her. And I want to like make sure I know when her doctor's appointments are, make sure I know when she's having these tests done, make sure I'm following up with her and checking on her and not just asking about the baby. And I mean, it turned out to be well received. That was really like the turning point, I feel like, in our friendship. And I appreciate you talking about it too, because I feel like it's something that a lot of women can really relate to.
Yeah. And, obviously, this, but I can go into a little bit more about it. So, at my 12-week scan, she was diagnosed with a cystic hygroma measuring 9 millimeters. And so 3 days later, we went and saw a specialist, and they told me it appeared to be gone. So it was, which is very uncommon if you know about that. Having it just disappear 3 days later is really unheard of. So for some time, we just thought maybe there had been a mistake at the 12-week scan. And that's when we did additional testing. And then the initial blood work came back positive for a chromosome abnormality. And it wasn't until we did the amniocentesis that she was confirmed with Edwards syndrome. So, yeah, that period of uncertainty, the waiting, the shifting information, the gravity of the diagnosis, all of it was obviously incredibly difficult. But really, what stood out to me is not just the loss itself, but how supported I felt, especially by you, Kim. I feel like you showed up in a way that didn't require fixing or answers. You were just there. And that mattered to me more than you will ever know. And I don't know if I've ever fully told you that, but yeah, it meant so much to me. And just think,
Well, it makes me think about what you sent to me. You sent me a quote about 20 minutes before we started recording, and this is for the podcast today, and I'll just read it real quick. It says, "True friendship is not about being there when it's convenient. It's about being there when it's not." And I will tell you, it did not feel like an inconvenience to be there for you, not one little bit, but it was, I mean, obviously a very hard and challenging time for you and for you and Paul both. And it gave me a big sense of purpose, and it made me, feel good to I think a lot of times when you're going through like a crazy life change or something traumatic like that, it's strange the way people will come out of the woodwork and show up for you, maybe when people you thought would be able to couldn't. And it's certainly not a judgment. And it's not, I mean, you could let it be a judgment, but I think it was just the timing and me just, like I said, I was like, I'm just going to dive into the pool. And if she doesn't want me in it, she's going to have to kick me out.
and I accepted you with open arms.
Yes, you did. And then it's just been great ever since. And that was when we really like settled into like, I think we were having like regular phone conversations, but we were like, we're just going to schedule it like every week. We're going to get on the phone. If we can only talk for 5 minutes, that's fine. But it was rarely 5 minutes.
Yeah, I miss those. We need to schedule those again.
I know. We need to do it again. So, through the course of all of that and our weekly calls and continuing to get to know each other and help each other with whatever like professional things we had going on or personal things we had going on, talking about our partners, our relationships, you got pregnant again.
Yeah.
And this turned out a little different. A little better. And now you have this beautiful, not baby boy anymore. I think of him like a baby, but he's not. Brayden,
My baby.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that pregnancy and sort of what that felt like after what you went through?
Yeah. So, I mean, when we tried to get pregnant again, I carried a lot of fear that came with what we went through. And then once we were pregnant, it was complicated. I was joyful and excited, but at the same time, I felt a lot of fear and anxiety. And, I just feel like that's something that people don't talk about a lot is how both can exist at the same time.
Yes. It is just not a black and white situation ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure there was like a lot of strange feelings about like mourning Angelina while a healthy baby is growing inside you.
100%. Yeah. And especially, I mean, I think there was so much fear until he was actually born and I got to hold him. It was just like, what if something was going to happen? What if I lose, another? And so I think a lot of that even came after the fact of like, once I had Brayden, there was so much gratitude. But also just kind of that grief really came in at that time.
Well, and I will say that is like gratitude is something that you put at the forefront of your day-to-day life. And I really respect it. I mean, and you really live. It's not just like in talk, like in action, you live a life of gratitude and you come back to gratitude when I'm speaking to you about things, when I see stuff on your Instagram stories with the way, and I think you probably did before, but that's something that like beautiful that has grown out of what you've been through is that like, that would be one of the first words I would use to describe you is that Susie is a very gracious person and lives a life of gratitude.
Thank you. That's beautiful. I appreciate that. I feel like I originally learned that from my mom because that's kind of how she is.
Oh yeah,
it definitely got better as I went through what I went through for sure.
Okay, so now let's talk about life after becoming a mama. So when I first met Susie, she was putting herself through college. She has always been goal-driven, focused, has a plan. She was bartending at Hooters and paying for every cent of her education. And you heard she has a, bachelor's in marketing with a minor in psychology. Like that's no small undertaking to do that for yourself. So that's something I've always known about you. And you moved from that education into a very demanding career path. You were all about climbing the ladder and setting that next goal and moving to that next thing. And once you had Brayden, you had achieved a lot with your career. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing and what your job was when you had Brayden.
So I was working, and my title was silly. It was Director of Strategic Initiatives, but essentially it was a Director of Marketing and Sales. And then I was also on the leadership team for a full service building performance contractor. So when I first started there, I think there was around 13 employees. And then whenever I chose to leave, I think there were close to like over 100. And I definitely played a big role in that growth.
Yeah, so she was a big deal. You were a big deal. Let's just say it. Like you had worked hard, you had climbed the ladder, and really didn't have any intentions for that to stop after becoming a mother, did you?
No, I feel like it intensified. So yeah, I mean, after Brayden was born, I don't know, I had this, I've always, like you said, I've always been driven, but it definitely intensified after having him. It gave me more purpose. And so, yeah, that definitely didn't change and still hasn't. But I'm also a Capricorn. So I just feel like it's, it's in my blood, it's in my nature.
So, but something did change where you were working. There was a
Yeah.
shift in the dynamic. I mean, how long had you had been working there? At
Yeah.
for
I was with the company for 8 years. And so, yeah, just to give a little context. So before having him, I worked there remotely 3 out of the 5 days. And then after maternity leave, I worked from home full time, but I was still meeting with my team in person regularly, going into the office as needed. My performance didn't change, but I continued managing my team and bringing in large accounts. And like I said, I felt more driven than ever. But what changed was how I was being treated. So um, I was on the leadership team, and that leadership team started acting different towards me, and especially by the owner who was my direct boss. So there were assumptions about what my role should look like after becoming a mom. I was told they expected me to move into a different role, or they assumed I would go part time, even though there was never any conversation of that before.
right.
Uh,
That's what I remember specifically being on our weekly calls when you were like, yeah, they just said they would just figure I'd want to scale back and go part time.
right,
When it's like, what in my behavior? We have had no conversations about that. Like, what an odd assumption to make when no discussion has led to that, nor have I even breached that with you.
right. Yeah, I was even asked if I had to breastfeed, which is wildly inappropriate.
Okay, so we're just ripping the band-aid. What was happening? Some very sexist behavior. There were some very sexist things happening.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the message I received indirectly, but clearly was that I had to choose between continuing to be successful in my career or being present as a mother.
And I think we all know and have a bazillion examples around us that, once again, multiple things can be true at the same time.
Right.
You're very capable of being a successful professional and a successful mother.
Right. And yeah, and I feel like that experience really showed me how clearly how women, especially mothers, are treated differently in the workplace. Because
Mm.
I had never had that experience prior or had any, experience with that, but it was very eye opening.
Yeah, and I remember you having like a little bit of like, I don't want to say denial. Denial was not the right word, but it was just like shock and like, is this like, am I watching a Lifetime TV movie or is this my real life? Like, what this is okay, this is real life. Like, and people that you had not had any issues in a working relationship with prior, like you would, these are people that you knew well and trusted in this professional environment, just seeing a different side of things, like that's got to be really like demoralizing and upsetting.
Yeah. And it made me almost feel guilty. I'm like, should I be feeling guilty? Because I mean, there's this guilt that came with feeling so driven and wanting to be successful in my role, but then also being a mom and having someone tell me that, oh, well, I just thought you'd go part time, or I thought that you would, want to do something different in your position. Like it brought a lot of guilt, which I feel like wasn't necessarily fair.
No, and I can remember telling you, like, this is
Yeah,
not on you. Like, you are not doing this. This is,
right.
you should not feel guilty.
Yeah. But I
I
will
told
say,
somebody earlier today, guilt and worry. What a waste of time.
yeah,
I mean, we all do it, but like, what a total and utter waste of time.
right. Yeah. But I will say, looking back, me choosing to leave that job was the best thing that ever happened to me. Best decision.
Absolutely. Because what now? Like, you're not going to stop being this driven person who wants to be a successful professional and a successful mother. Like, you're still that person. So you stepped out of that position, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And then started pursuing.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, always doing like affiliate marketing on the side, so I kind of just tried to see if I could maybe grow that a little bit more. I did decide not to just jump into another job with another company. Always wanted to kind of figure out how I could make money and still be home with Braden. And so that's when I really started kind of thinking about what that looked like for me. and was doing like Amazon influencer program and just things to kind of bring in some additional income and still make money. Because I don't know, for me, I love being a stay-at-home mom and I love being home with my son, but also like, I'm just, like you said, I'm just driven. I feel like I also want to have a way to contribute to the family financially.
And just a way that like fills you up professionally. Like it's just going to make you a better mother when you have these things. And, your path to this like holistic coach,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't just like come out of nowhere. Like I have known you to be someone who's always very health conscious. You've always exercised regularly. Have been experimental with your nutrition. You were a vegetarian when I first met you, then pescatarian. Now we're full circle. Susie is eating the beef again.
Yes.
And struggled with things with your hormonal health as well. Like, even though I mean, back in the day, we were making some probably negative health decisions as well. There was a little partying, but you
Just a
were
little.
so, I mean, we were like work hard, play hard. We would party and then we would also like exercise and lift weights and run and take good care of ourselves and, try to get our protein in and take our supplements. And at that same time, all throughout, you were dealing with all of these like extreme hormone issues as well with like really bad periods. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you said it right. So has always been a big part of my life. I exercised. I ate what I thought was eating well. I mean, I think I eat better now, but still at the time I was doing the best that I knew.
Mhm.
And, despite doing all the right things, I struggled for a very long time with crippling cramps, being put on birth control, headaches, anxiety, obviously later some fertility challenges. But yeah, I mean, I had PMDD, and at the time I didn't even have the language for it. So
Remind me what PMDD stands for. I always have to look it up.
yeah, that's okay. So it's premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And so it's basically a severe hormone related mood disorder tied to the menstrual cycle.
Okay.
And so, like, part of the month, you just feel like a completely different person. Like, I would feel absolutely crazy, but also the pain was just so bad, nothing would help. I would, use heating pads, 10 units. I was going to massage therapy. I was doing all the things, but nothing, and taking ibuprofen like it was candy, and nothing was helping. Obviously, that's not a good choice, but I was trying to do everything that I possibly could. But yeah, you basically just, feel like you're crazy for half of the month. You don't feel like yourself. And what makes PMDD tricky is that your hormone levels can actually be normal. It's the body's sensitivity to the shifts that causes the symptoms. So that's why a lot of women are misdiagnosed or told that they're fine and it's just in their head.
Well, and I think there's just a general, I mean, I don't think I know, like can't quote the study, but at this point we know that women's pain when we are talking to our doctors it's dismissed
Oh yeah.
more than men's. It's something that just happens. And I mean, we were just a part of that generation that it was like everybody was just getting thrown on birth control when they were like 14 years old. Because, of course your periods were crazy when you were 14. Like there's so many things going on hormonally in your body. And we're not saying like, let's not find some solutions or some relief for you. But just that like blanket, everybody goes on birth control. I mean, I don't know a woman like in my demographic of my peers that doesn't have like some sort of like adverse negative story about when they were on birth control, even like on the smallest end. And like birth control wasn't horrible for me, except that I just had no sex drive. Like that's not normal. Like to be in your 20s and not wanting to have sex, like that alone is enough reason for us to find a better solution. But then when you start talking about like the further end of that, where it's like you're still having like crazy breakthrough bleeding, you're still having cramps that are just like debilitating, and several days a month where you can not function, and you probably are anyway because you're eating ibuprofen like Tic Tacs, you know. So I'm just happy that we have. I feel like there has been a shift, especially with female doctors who are around the same age as us that are like, enough's enough already. We're not going to diagnose off of levels anymore. We're going to attempt to pay attention to symptoms and like, hey, listen to women and believe what they say. This is a little bit of a shift. We're going to like go a different direction, but there's another part of your life story that I feel like is important that we introduce here because I know it plays a big role in why you do what you do now. And that is what your dad went through with his health all growing up. And then, of course, leading up to his death. What, like 8 to 10 years ago was that now?
It'll be 10 years next
Years.
month. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your dad.
Yeah. So, oh, I mean, it started with diabetes, and I'll never forget whenever he came home and let us know that he had diabetes, and I didn't really know a whole lot about it at the time. I was really young, you know. And then it just slowly progressed from there, and it was just difficult to see and watch my dad navigate the healthcare system, like watching his health and his quality of life slowly decline. So started with diabetes, and then he was diagnosed with kidney disease, and then, you know, slowly kidneys started failing. He went on dialysis for, ooh, I'm really bad with timelines, but I want to say like at least 4 or 5 years before he got a kidney transplant. And he got a kidney transplant, and things were better for a while. And then his kidney started failing again, and he went back on dialysis for a short period of time before we lost him. So it was just a long battle and a slow, watching him slowly decline was just really difficult. And then just seeing the limitations of the healthcare system had a really big impact on me. So there was a lack of communication between providers, a heavy focus on medications yet again, with little to no attention on lifestyle or nutrition. So yeah, it was awful.
Well, again, thank you for being open to sharing about that. And I will say, I remember when your dad died, and it was obviously a heavy time for you and your brother and your mom. But again, it was just another time where I feel like I just like leaned in to you as a friend and was like, I feel like I'm getting behind the curtain with her a little bit more. And I feel like I'm going to it's interesting because we are a part of this large group of girlfriends, and a lot of you have been friends like since Daniel's been around. Like, you've all been friends since like middle school into high school. You've all carried each other through a lot. And then I just sort of like popped up 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And I love all of you, but you do sort of feel like I'm kind of like on the edge. And you have always just been like, you are not on the edge, like just pulling me right into the center. Like, you're in it with us.
No, well, I feel like you're so easy to love. It was just so easy to, and honestly, when you're back then, I don't know, we didn't really love a lot of girls. Like it was just, you had your circle, we had our people, and there wasn't a ton of new people that would come in that you would just like gravitate to like that. But you were definitely one of those. Like you were just so easy to love. And so yeah, of course
Yeah.
I brought you right in. I'm like, yes,
We had
we're
our
gonna be
eye on
my
each
best
other.
friends.
Yeah. So we have just the things that you were always trying growing up, being health conscious, exercising regularly, being conscious of nutrition and how that affected you, everything you went through with PMDD, everything you went through with the loss of your father, then of course your journey with your pregnancies. And this is all sort of informing where you've landed now
Yeah.
as an integrative holistic health coach. So, can you tell me what an integrative holistic health coach is, please, Susie?
Yeah, of course. So like you said before, it's also very commonly known as a holistic health coach, but I've helped people get to the root of what's causing their symptoms instead of just managing them. So we look at the whole picture. We're going to look at your health, your habits, your stress, what your body's been dealing with, and kind of just, look at everything as a whole because it's all connected. Um, and yeah, I mean, that's really kind of what it is. We meet and one-on-one, and I help support you and guide you, and just kind of be your health advocate, if you will.
So you said one time, and I am cracking up because you told me, I don't even remember saying that, but it was on Instagram. Susie is so active on Instagram. So if the only thing you take away from listening to this podcast is following her on Instagram, then I will tell you right now, she is not a gatekeeper. She is putting the information out there. She is sharing what she is learning all along the way, whether it be some fruit or vegetable you've never even freaking heard of in your life that she's trying to figure out how to cook or how to use, or sharing recipes or what have you. So on one of Susie's Instagram stories, she said, it's sort of like a health doula. And if you've been listening to the pod, you know, like that totally resonated with me because I had a doula with my first birth. I had a natural, I had a home birth and a doula and a midwife with my second birth. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. So it's not like, I mean, certainly I would think that like if you can get some of these preventative measures in place with your nutrition, with holistic care, you do have less of a need for your conventional Western medical system. But this isn't necessarily come on this holistic journey with me and eat ginger root and you're never going to need to see a doctor again in your life. The other part of this is that you can take what we're gleaning from our Western doctors and say, well, that's great. Maybe be on that medication, but let's also do these things with your nutrition and see if maybe over time you don't have to be on that medication anymore. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I work in collaboration with your healthcare providers, right? So, yeah, I mean, there's so many alternatives than just taking a prescription. And there's so much more to health. It's really about your mindset, your nervous system, your hormones, your metabolism, your sleep, your relationships, all of it. It's all connected. So, when we meet, yes, if you have a healthcare provider you're working with, that's great. We can work in partnership with them. I'm definitely not there to replace them, but hopefully I can help you find some more holistic, natural ways to help heal your body, alongside whatever it is that you're currently taking, if you are on medications or not.
So if I were to do an intro session with you, is that sort of where you would start, like asking questions about what my sleep patterns are and things like that?
Yeah. So first, I offer a free discovery call, and that's really just to make sure we're a good fit for both parties. So there's like no pressure there. It's just a conversation to make sure it's a good fit, right? And then from there, I'll work with clients on a one-on-one for individualized support and either a 3 month or 6 month coaching program, depending on what kind of support you're needing. And during that intro call, basically, it feels kind of more like a conversation than an appointment, but we'll talk through your history, your symptoms, your stress, your goals, kind of a little bit of everything, and go from there.
And then, of course, you want to be confidential about the people that you've worked with, but can you just give us sort of a success story of like someone you've worked with and what you've seen, like changes you've been able to see once someone started working with you?
Yeah. So, let's see here. During as I was still in school, I was taking clients as taking them through my program just as practice. And one of my clients went through 6 months, a 6 month program with me and lost over 40 pounds. So that was really exciting.
Okay.
And then I have another client that just felt like they were really more in tune with their bodies. They felt like they understood their body so much better and kind of what was going on and realized that they needed to be doing less instead of more. And so, they really learned that slowing down was better for them. So, I mean, everybody's going to be different, right? And what works for one person's not going to work for another. I think that's what I love about it is everybody's unique. And so there's no one size fits all approach.
Well, and I just think it sounds so comforting. What do you see your general practitioner or your OB like once a year? and you go in, if you're prepared with maybe like a few things in your notes app that you want to go through. And I mean, you're with them like maybe like 30 minutes if they're, I mean, really eye opening to see how helpful it could be. Like you're talking about like 3-month and 6-month programs. Are you meeting with your clients once a month? What does that look like?
Yeah. So just as a side note, I'm pretty sure doctors are only allowed 10 minutes with their clients now. That's what I've heard. But yeah, so it can vary depending on what is really best for the client. But right now, what I'm offering is 50-minute sessions every other week, and those are virtual. So we meet through a video
Wow.
conference. And then there's daily tech support and weekly check-ins.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I know I'm not alone in feeling like I kind of equate it to like math class when I was in middle school. Like you're in the doctor's office and you lay out everything. Well, like this has been kind of weird and I'm dealing with this and I'm dealing with that. And then you leave there kind of feeling better, sort of like math class. They like explain it and you're like, okay, yeah, this makes sense to me. And then you get in your car or you get home with the homework and you're like, wait, what happened? Like, I feel like I was under some sort of like voodoo spell and now the spell is gone and I don't feel like I got any answers. Or if I do, I don't understand the actual application of the answer.
Right.
So, I mean, I think just in the time discussion alone, like maybe, I mean, my GP, she's probably going to be on the podcast at some point. She's my friend. Like, I'm probably just really fortunate that she's like, we're going to talk for like 30 or 45 minutes when you come in once a year and I can like text her questions. But I realize that the vast majority of people don't have that.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
and
It's nice to have that extra support and then someone there to help educate you on things that you may not understand. Be your
right, right. Well, where can we find you, Susie? Where do we go to even just follow you so that we can glean all of the beautiful, wonderful wisdom that you put on Instagram and also see your beautiful family? And I
Yeah,
mean, just the aesthetic alone of her social media is just like warm and fuzzy.
oh, you're the best. Thank you. You can find me on Instagram at Time to Thrive with Susie. And that's time like the herb. So that's THYME, Time to Thrive with Susie. And then my website at www.timetothrivewithsusie.com.
And I'm sure we'll get all that in the show notes as well.
Yes.
I'm really happy we did this today.
Me too. Thank you so much for being a part of my story and having me on your podcast. I really loved this conversation.
I love it too. And I really appreciate again, I know I've already said it, but it's hard to be vulnerable and it's hard to talk about, challenges and traumas and hard, bad things that have happened in our lives. But what we all have in common is that we all have them. And that's just really like at the heart of what I want Kim and Friends to be, is just sort of removing that judgment or shame to just talk about the real shit.
Yeah,
So I know that a lot of the women that listen have had similar situations as you. I know they will appreciate your vulnerability and your willingness to share. And I feel like that's the way we can sort of heal ourselves from a lot of those things, is just by talking about them.
absolutely. Yeah, I feel like when I was going through everything with Angelina, what really helped me, obviously, my friendships, but just finding other people online that had been through similar things. So I am an open book, and I'm always my doors are always open if anybody wants to chat or has any questions. So
All right. Well, I appreciate you so much, Susie. We're going to go ahead and end it here. I appreciate everybody listening today. And I'm happy to be back in the studio. And I will talk to you more next week.